Welcome to the Able Show. My name is Elon Carter. I am the host. My co-hosts, Astrid, Scott, and Liz. Today we have a special guest. You've seen him in a lot of films, and you'll recognize him as soon as you see him. His name is Stogie Kenyatta. Stay tuned, and DJ X-Ray will bring it on. Welcome, Stogie. I think that we're welcoming you because I've read that you were born in Jamaica.
Yeah, I'm born in Jamaica, Kingston.
Oh, see?
Raised in the capital, Brooklyn.
Wow.
No, the capital is actually Kingston, Jamaica, but we say Brooklyn because there's so many Jamaicans in Brooklyn.
Yes.
And you know, and when I do stand up, I always say Brooklyn, New York, where the streets are dirty and grandmothers are 30.
Wow.
But you always know where the good food is, I bet.
Oh, absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
Since you're in LA, do you know the good food? Did you make in restaurants here?
Yeah, they have quite a few. They had Derek's and a few other spots that, you know, establishments around, you know, We Jammin' in a few places like that, but you know.
Oh, wow.
So can you tell me about the one-man show you have about Paul Robeson?
Oh yes, I do a one-man theatrical performance on the life of the great Paul Robeson. It's been a real blessing. It saved my career and probably my life because I've been touring it around 25 years and it's taken me to 21 countries around the world, and I've done a show at over 100 universities and U.S. embassies and theaters in 20 countries, so it's been phenomenal for me.
You have an amazing smile. Have you ever been in a Colgate commercial?
No. We get that from my mother, you know.
Really?
But you know, in Jamaica we have the chew stick, you know. The Rastaman them have the chew stick,
Is
and
that
then
helpful?
it whitens the teeth. It's a natural way of whitening the teeth without the fluoride and everything. You know, most of Jamaica, you can see Jamaican man them 85, 90 years old, and them smiling have brand new teeth. And you know,
That stick. I want that stick. Great teeth.
I actually heard Africans have it too, right? It's also in Africa?
Right, yes, Africa, a lot in Ghana as well, because there's a little Jamaica in Ghana, and I was fortunate enough in 2019 to do a film there in Ghana, and I spent a month there, and it was a phenomenal time. It was just a life-changing trip for me, and so yeah, it was wonderful.
Did you see any correlation between being in Ghana and being raised in Jamaica?
Oh my God, absolutely. Jamaica is like parts of Africa, as is to some degree some of the South. We're very, you know, Pan-African type culture, you know, and even in the dialect, you know, the TH sound, it's not in the Bantu language. So they don't say thank, they say thank you, you know, and so it's and it's the same thing in Ghana and the same thing in Jamaica. You know, and so
I haven't been to Ghana, but I've been to Jamaica lots of times. That's good.
Yeah, so you know.
So awesome. So how do you feel like Jamaica has shaped you as far as like your career coming and doing comedy, acting? How has that shaped you?
Well, you know, I came west to California on a basketball scholarship. The first time I saw theater was my grandmother, Rose, who my company, Kingston Rose, is named after, took me to a pantomime in Jamaica. And I was like 5 years old, and the colors and the brightness and the lights and the way the people react, and I was just looking at everything, the stage and everything, and pantomime is so expressive because, you know, Jamaica are the most expressive people. You know, even in our dialect, you know, it's a melodic, you know, the way the Jamaicans them talk, you know, there's a melody to it, you know, and you know, and it's a very peaceful, pleasant language, so, you know. So it shaped my worldview in a sense that the motto of Jamaica is out of many, one people. And because we have the Karak Indians, you know, and some Asians and the whole thing, and they blend, and we form this, you know, union of out of many, one people, which is what the universe is, you know, and we're a natural, you know, lover of people and sports. So for an island with less than 2 million people, we've had the fastest man on earth and women at least a dozen times. Yeah. You know, we've given the world reggae music and some of the best food, you know, and 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 some bad man too, but So I used to do a joke about that, how Jamaican men, would be yelling at their wife and kids, and then a guest would come over and it's like, sit down and shut up, behave yourself. And it's like, oh, hi, Elon, pleasure to meet you. Would you care to have some tea? A spot of tea, Elon, and it's like, bring her some tea, or what's wrong with you, you idiot? And it's like, and it's this thing to where you always have, and it's a welcomeness because, that motto that, you make a life by what you get, you make a living by what you get, but you make a life by what you give. And so that is, the concept.
Because you've done so many things, like you were in the Tyson movie, you did Batman and Robin. I recognize you from the series Species. What does that have to do with, like, as a Jamaican, they say you have a lot of jobs. So I know you do the play. I know you're an author. So I think that's quite funny. Can you explain why everyone over on this side of the world says, oh, you got many jobs like a Jamaican?
Well, because we're working people, and we're descendants of enslaved African people, and so as a result, when you're on a small island, you have this work ethic and this thing that you have to earn and try and make for yourself and find diversity. And I was fortunate after I came out to California on a basketball scholarship, I hooked up with a group of young actors, very, very talented, but we were before our time. And so, so a lot of them, had different things. They sang, they danced, they wrote, they did poetry, spoken word, and a little bit of everything. So I brought all of that with me. And so, it was good because you still don't work near enough to sustain yourself. And I'm a 6'5" leading man that's 250 pounds. The camera puts 20 pounds on you automatically. And when I would audition next to Martin Lawrence or, Cuba Gooding, they look like my children because, I'm so tall and statuesque and so it's like, so a lot of my friends, from, the Reggie Dorseys, Clyde Jones and Ty Granderson Jones and all those guys that came up in that period, we all had these things to overcome, but it was just, not like today. There's a lot more work and more opportunities. And the internet, you can't hide there. You had to really, really hustle. And so we did a little bit of everything because, it was one of those things, where we could not afford to fail.
Oh,
That's true.
Now, I know your play, you've had over 100 shows. You're very successful in theater. What I wanted to know is, do you prefer doing theater or do you prefer doing TV?
As an actor, as an artist, theater is the most fulfilling because it's the hardest. It's like right now, if you cry 5 seconds too early, the audience will wonder, like, what's this idiot crying for? He's a big baby. And if you cry something too late, you got to go like, this kid, he's satanic. How does that not move him? So the timing has to be there. It's immediate gratification. It is the hardest of all because when you see a film, you can be seeing take number 29, okay, and they'll go like, the Visine in, don't blink, we're coming in your close-up, okay, and now say the line, now blink. And then you blink and the tears run down all fat right down the middle, and you gotta go like, okay, I've sobbed, don't look like that, Yeah. But, theater is for the artists. I prefer as performance, but movies and films will live forever, and it'll also make you a hell of a lot richer. So that was the plan, and when I came out here, that was the whole thing to where you wanted people across the world to see you, because when I saw Sidney Poitier and Belafonte, that was my touchstone, and when I saw bad boys like Glenn Turman and, JD's Revenge and things like that, and Richard Roundtree, it was gotta go like, oh my God, and people would say, they would say, you're like Shaft or Teddy Pendergrass and all of those people. So you want mass media because it brings with it not just the fame and the wealth, but a global identity, and so, yeah.
Well, we're gonna go to a break. We will be right back. We have so much more to talk about. Stay tuned. We are back with Stogie. I want to ask you about your book, The God Stops Smiling.
Oh, yes.
We don't want to stop smiling because we like your smile.
No, that's one of the hardest things I've done because writing that novel, it was a beautiful experience. The God Stop Smiling, the title comes from, I grew up playing sports. I was a scholarship athlete in basketball. I was a decent tight end in football, but basketball was my love. And when you're talented in a sport like Kobe and LeBron and Michael Jordan and Magic was, the coaches say in Little League, oh, the gods have smiled on that kid. The gods have smiled on that kid. He's going to be a millionaire. He's going to make it. He'll be rich by the time he's 20. You know, his path is paved. And so the story's about two kids, a black kid from Brooklyn, a white kid, Italian kid from Queens, New York. The gods smiling. They were bound to make it. They had everything. And then both their parents passed away, and they ended up not going to the schools they were going to. One was going to go to Notre Dame, one was going to UCLA. But both their parents got sick, and those are the people that were in the stands cheering them on. So they stayed locally and played for a local school. They won the championship. They can be near their parents. Their parents eventually passed, and they went pro and got all the money, and they thought all of their problems were solved. But the hypocrisy of wealth is that you get that illusion that it solves all your problems when it does not. And so what happens is, it took them someplace, their success took them someplace where their character couldn't keep them. And a lot of times we criticize young people and say, he should know better than that. He's a millionaire, how could he ruin it all? And you say, well, how is he gonna learn that? Well, his parents should have taught him. It's like his parents were never making $20 million a year at 20 years old. His pastor, his teacher, none of them had this to where everybody from his attorney to his agent to his PR person, they all worked for him and they all made less than him. And so it's very hard to tell a 20-year-old, you know, this is how you should behave if you want your dreams to come true. And he goes, well, how come yours haven't come true since you have all the answers? Right. The thing is, so what happens is the God smiled on them. They became multimillionaires in their 20s, and they had everything. And then for 45 minutes in the hills of Bel Air one morning, the God stopped smiling. And one thing led to another, and their lives just unraveled, and it's how they came back from that. It's similar to the story of Job, to where you have everything, you lose it all, and then, you know, and you find out because, like his father said to me, he said, high school, they worshiped you because you were a ball player. College, they loved you because you made so much money. Then you went to the pros, and the pros loved you. They made you a multimillionaire. Then you went to LA, and LA made you a god. And now they're crucifying you because that's what they do to gods. So the God Stop Smiling is a journey about that story. And, and it's very special to me because Louis Gossett Jr. Took an interest in me, and he became my mentor. And he suggested that I should write, and I did write. He wrote the foreword for the book. And he was very kind to me. When I was in Ghana, he had the ambassador send a car for me and, show me around. It was very, and so we lost him, but I got the book done the year before he died, he passed. And so it's a very wonderful thing, and I'm very pleased about it. But, I've since written a second novel, Promise of Paradise, which will be a film that I will be working on as well.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Okay.
The thing is, even though it's tough, like I tell, because I teach a master class at the colleges after the show, and the title of the master class is Not Leaving the Keys to Your Happiness in Someone Else's Pocket. Because the mental health in Hollywood is very shaky, because none of us have failed at anything this badly and for this long a period of time.
I like the way you said that.
So, as a result, we have to make these adjustments. But I tell these artists, even though it's tough, and even though the game is not fair, because it's not a meritocracy like sports or science. If you pass the med school, you're a doctor forever in any city you go to. Yeah. You're a lawyer forever. You pass the bar in any city you go to. You can be 5 movies in and be on the Cosby Show, and then be working at Trader Joe's or somewhere, or picking up garbage and go like, didn't you used to be? And you're going like, what happened? I'm 38. How can I be a used to be?
Well, what about the people that judge someone who some people don't think they should get a job because they were on a big show like that?
Well, those people are idiots, and you can't, and you can't become concerned with that. But there's no guarantee of success. Right. And if you're a true believer, and this is what your passion is, you have to fight for it, because at the end of the day, we're all going to live. We're born to die, and so at the end of the day, you don't want to wake up. I have friends now that quit acting because they said, I can take it. The rejection was too much, the whole thing. But I come from nothing. I'm from a third world democracy. And one of my first jokes was like, So I'm from the third world, okay? You do know that America's the first world, and I'm from the third world. So number 2 wasn't even taken, and you still wouldn't give it to us? You bastards. How are we the third world? Why couldn't we be the second world? It's not even taken. It's like we have a race. I finish first, you finish after me, but then you get the third place trophy. I'm going like, but that's how they look at the rest of the world. So this thing to where you have to find fulfillment or perish, there are a group of us who say that if I don't strive for my objective at the end of my life, I'm going to just be there thinking, what did I do with my 40 years, 50 years on this planet? When I won the NAACP award, Chadwick Boseman was there. He had done James Brown and Thurgood Marshall. And when Chadwick Boseman had won these awards, and everyone was saying like, and he was so gracious, and he was such a fine young man, well-mannered from South Carolina. I just thought when he walked away, oh God, I have to like him better than me, because he is like, he is like a fine, you know. And he went on to have all the success, and people would say like, don't you wish you had his career? But I learned long in the game, when you play ball, you never curse your own luck, because you have to run your own race. No matter how your race is going, you have to run your own race. And so if you take someone's good luck, then you also inherit their bad luck. And as it turns out, poor Chadwick, even after, and you know, don't get me wrong, when I saw Black Panther, I got it like, wow, now he's at 25 million a picture, and $1 billion, you know, and it was like, but this is life, it's full of uncertainty. And so this entire agenda where people would say like, you know, it's a tough business, and you know, a lot of people in that don't make it, Stogie, and you could be a lawyer, you're bright, you have all this, and you know, and you can make a lot of money doing something else. And I said, well, because there's no guarantee. And I said, I'm from the third world country, remember? And I grew up in Brownsville, Brooklyn, one of the worst ghettos in America. And so there's no guarantee for me anyway. So, you know, it's like I serve a mighty God, so I just trust him, believe, and do like the song says, you know, let your heart lead the way.
Well, we're going to take a break on that. We will be back with Stogie with more. I mean, he's given us so much information. We'll be right back. With Stogie, he's given us so much information. You know, I want to ask you as an actor, with the DEI and the administration, what's going on right now, how is it affecting you?
Tremendously. It is, it's ruined what, you know, I've performed at over 66 HBCUs around the country in the years since I've been touring. And I've done Tuskegee University, from Morehouse, Tuskegee, but Tuskegee many times. They have the largest California delegation at Tuskegee for HBCUs. And taking that away has cut the funding for it. It's against the law now to teach Black history into southern states that are red states. And so it's truly disturbing that, you know, in light of everything we've been through, that now we're still fighting to recognize our shared humanity. And what's even more is appalling is the silence of the other groups that are not standing up to say, you're trying to take Jackie Robinson out of this here and do that, to say you're banning books from the library, the poet laureate is banned, and a lot of things. So it's a tremendous setback to a lot of artists, because those $5 million DEI budgets sustained us. Yeah, it's very unfortunate that, you know, that every time you give rich, wealthy white America a chance to show that they've learned something, and that Martin Luther King's journey was not in vain, they end up showing you that there's still room for hate. And, you know, love always conquers hate, and, you know, and hatred can produce nothing, and, you know, God is still God, so we'll work out, it'll overcome. But it's just sad to see that 2025, this far along, that we're still now turning the back and deciding who on this planet has a right to be here. And I find that offensive in nature, that it's like, you don't get to decide who has a right to be here.
Well, it's just shocking as African American people that we thought, you know, we just want some peace and just be treated fairly, and this is how you really feel. And there's a new generation that feels the same. And so it's just kind of a wake-up call to see the response. We're like, okay, this is what you think of America. This is what you're doing.
Well, we realized that it was all fake love, that it wasn't ever really there.
Right.
Because it was like, to find out they never really loved us at all. All the cheering and all the whole thing, that at the end of the day, you will still say, because if Trump was a black man saying what he said and behaving that way and saying, I'll grab a woman by the, I would go like, which team did you play on?
The first time he would have been out.
But I'm saying, but in even in sports, the cheerleaders, the whole thing, and
Well, this is what I would like to see, and I'll probably get counsel for this one. What about our athletes? If you take that away, how much would the billionaires that own the teams?
Right.
Who's going to make money? Because all our athletes that are playing basketball and football are black.
We are the dominant culture.
Right.
And and people
Make money
confuse that
off
with
of this.
culture meaning is who your kids aspire to be, who moves the needle. So if you say, who is white America's Malcolm X? Who's Europe's Malcolm X? Who's Europe's Martin Luther King? Who's white America's Nelson Mandela? Harriet Tubman? Okay? When you look back at our history and you say Charles Drew invented the blood transfusion, and so they wouldn't find out that the smartest doctor in America who invented transfusion in World War II, and he saved a bunch of lives. And then they found out a black doctor, they said, I thought you separated the black blood from the white blood. He said, we separated the blood. And he said, the black blood from the white blood, no, we separate the blood the only way you can, AB positive. He said, so blacks and whites have the same blood types. And so a lot of soldiers refused it because it might be, and one died that time. So in World War II, some died. Later on in North Carolina, Charles Drew got into a car accident in his brand new Buick. They thought he stole it because he couldn't have a brand new Buick. Then they found out the car was registered to him. He now needed a blood transfusion.
And they wouldn't give it to him.
That God put in his head, that he created a machine to save his own life. The hospital that had his machine took his machine but wouldn't take him because they didn't take blacks. He had to go 20 miles in another direction. By the time he got there, he died. And that's for that reason, when I was a keynote speaker at the University of Pennsylvania, I mentioned that that for that reason alone, every black child in America should get to go to med school for free.
Yes.
So, but if God put in the head, one of the great grandchildren of your former slaves, the cure for cancer, diabetes, and all the things that's ailing all of us collectively, even though there's a school there, with a classroom there, with a chair there, you'll deny that genius that seat because of the color of his skin and because of the racism that created the situation that he's currently in right now. So it's a delicate balance, but as a Pan-African teaching artist, these are some of the things that I mentioned, because I understand that, our hope is it's a global humanity, and we all have an obligation to understand that we can live together peacefully, and we often do. And growing up in the worst ghettos, or even in Jamaica, if somebody Jamaican guy marries a beautiful white girl, she comes in, he's like, but you can't cook, and said, Liz, come, Liz, make me show you how to cook. And once she learns all those things, now she's one of us, she's family.
Right.
It's just like that.
Culturally, we're very open people. We don't wish any hate on anyone. And I think people who view or dislike us because of our color, I think they just have mental illness. That's how I attribute it. You just are mentally ill or a demon.
Well,
One or the other.
I agree.
It's confused admiration.
Yeah.
It's
brainwashing. It's the system. They've
so
done it enough.
In your opinion, what can we all do to help the DEI initiative, at least in the performing arts, which is your industry?
Well, the thing is this. What I was hoping that they would do, they would say that since you're not letting them teach black history and the whole thing, college football generates billions of dollars. If every black athlete refused to play, or they said, we're not going to field the team, okay, but it will hurt that athlete. And that's too stiff a price to pay because you're only going to be 19 and 20 one time. But I'm just saying that there's enough righteous people, okay, like Martin Luther King said, he said, evil only prospers when good men do nothing. And there are a lot of good men and God-fearing people that say, like, if someone came to me and said, hey, let's kill all the Jews, let's kill all the white people, I would go like, what the hell is wrong with you? Are you crazy? And I'm like, are you nuts? Why would you? I mean, there are 300 million people in America. We are 12%. How in God's name are you that afraid? If I showed up with 188 people and you had 12, I'm going to assume that you're going to be leaving soon because It's like, and that's kind of where we are. And so, you know, so for the Asians and the Latin community, the white, the Jewish community, and all of them to not say, has history taught you nothing? You killed Martin Luther King at 39. He didn't see 40 years old. And there's a street named after him in every city in America. And he's one of the most famous people in the world. So it all worked out terribly for you. You know, the same thing with Mandela, same thing with Malcolm X. And so history shows, you know, that we have to, evil never wins. It won't prosper. Every evil brings with it the seed of its own destruction. Because at the end of the day, it's still God's world. And so we just have to, you know, and that's what I want to use theater as a vehicle for social change, to uplift and inspire, you know, a darkened humanity. And that's what the Robeson show is about. And, you know, hopefully, you know, like I said, June 1st, I'm back at the Santa Monica Playhouse, the first Sunday in June at Santa Monica Playhouse, which Evelyn, Rudy, and Chris DiCarlo has given me a residency there. And I've performed over 150 shows there in the last 12, 11 years. And then I'm going to Merced, and Kim McMillan is bringing me for the very first time in the San Joaquin Valley. I'll be doing my premiere there, having 2 shows there with Kim McMillan and her company.
Well, that's perfect, because I was going to ask you, it's like, okay, we're going to wrap up. This has been such an amazing show, because it's been really deep and inspiring. And I was going to say, what's coming up next? So you just answered that, but we want to tell the audience where to find you so they can go to those places.
Yes, I'm on social media at Stogie Kenyatta, S-T-O-G-I-E, Kenyatta, and on Facebook as well. I have a fan page on Facebook as well, a Stogie Kenyatta fan page, and I don't do Twitter much, and I still call it Twitter because the other one's evil. And but that's where I am, and you know, and I'm very grateful. I've come to love social media because it brings out a voice and a compassion that I know is still there. Because you know, as I tell when I teach the master class, one of the things they ask me after every show, the number one question: how do you make yourself cry? How do you make yourself cry like that on command? And I explained to them, I said, I am not making myself cry. It is, I said, every human being has within them, that God put in them, a nerve that is designed to have a compassionate response to the suffering of others. And without doing, like when I watch Katrina on TV and the flooding, and I watch people in New Orleans and Mississippi standing on their rooftops waving for help, and we can film their misery, but we can't save them, and we can't, you know, without knowing, tears ran down my face because I knew.
You felt there.
It was just like,
it was so hard.
It was like, you know, and have people who live down there, have people in Harvey and all over, and so, but that is that compassionate response. And the more you love. Now, until I had children, and my daughter in particular, where I did not know, I was not as in touch with that, but one time I was making French toast for her for breakfast, and you know, the ones you put in the toaster? And she was like 3 years old. And I burnt it, and I said, "Oh, Toonie, I'm bad daddy. I burnt it to a bad daddy." And she said, "No, don't say you're a bad daddy. Don't say you're not a bad." And she was like, and I thought, oh my God, how it affected. But you know, but it was too much tenderness, and it touched my heart. But it lets you know, the more you love, the more compassion you'll have. Yes. And you know, the more you see your face or God's face in that stranger in front of you, the greater we'll have. And it's our hope for, you know, the future, you know, and a kinder humanity.
That's beautiful.
Thank you, Stogie.
Yeah.
This has been amazing.
Absolutely.
I love this.
Really good.
Wow. Well, we are looking forward to all your new stuff coming out. We definitely want to go see that play. You know, we'll take the whole crew.
Santa
And
Monica.
you are welcome back to the Able Show. Thank you for tuning in to the Able Show with Stogie Kenyatta, DJ X-Ray. Take it out.